We're going to be getting started in about a minute. If any member of the public would like to speak, fill out one of these slips that's in the corner and bring it forward. Thank you. We'll be getting started in 5 minutes. Good. It's 6:34. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pugh.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers.
Present.
Sexton. Sullard.
Here.
Thorsland. Vantage Theronot.
Here.
Wiggs.
Here.
Wilson. Cagle. Carter.
Here.
Cowart.
Present.
Crane.
Here.
Esri.
Here.
Farney.
Here.
Fava. Furtado. Greer. Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
Locke.
Here. All right. You'll note that I'm not Steve Summers. He is ill, so he's asked that I chair this meeting tonight. Moving on, we have tonight's prayer. I'd ask that we remember the strength that comes from working together and draw upon collective knowledge and experience. May we take a moment to reflect on the importance of this work and the impact the decisions will have on the lives of those in our community. Will everyone please stand for the pledge? Will the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on June 26, 2025, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda and the addenda. Mr. Esri, second, going by Ms. Lockshin. Mr. Esri.
Yes, I'd like to ask for a couple items to be pulled. First off, number 11A, XIA, the March 2025 regular meeting minutes, due to some discrepancies, I'd like to see them reworked before we take a vote on them. And then under 14, XIV, new business, in our pink, the very top agenda item on the second page of the original agenda, D, remove that because in the addendum under new business, F is the updated version of D. So we're going to vote on it. It's just we don't need it on the agenda twice.
Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Farney? All right, all in favor of the amendment to the agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all in favor of the agenda as amended? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. The date and time of the next regular meeting, in July, we only have the county board meeting on Thursday, the 24th, in the Shields Carter Meeting Room at the new Bennett Administrative Center. This is our last meeting in this room, so everybody, rock star on your way out the door. Okay, moving on, employee recognition. Ms. Vanich Thirenot, as chair of the policy personnel, would you like to read the motion?
Thank you, Chair Locke. Resolution number 2025-199, resolution honoring county employees for years of service. Whereas it is the vision of the Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has a personal devotion to excellence in public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer services to its citizens. And whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have dedication to the best interests of all the people of Champaign County. And whereas the Champaign County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of the employees who have reached 5, 10, 20, 25, 30, and 35-year milestones in June 2025, now therefore be it resolved that the County Board of Champaign County hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 26th day of June, AD 2025. Trevor Denny, Sheriff, 5 years of service. Janae Weishart, State's Attorney, 20 years of service. Susan McGrath, Circuit Clerk, 20 years of service. Damon Madajowski, Highway, 25 years of service. And for this last one, I believe Michelle wanted to say a few words.
Steve couldn't be here tonight, but we just wanted to say something particularly about John Hall, who's been with the county for 35 years, which is an amazing feat. John's been with the county since 1990, where he was hired as a Planner 1. And at the end of 2005, he was promoted to Planning and Zoning Director, where he has served for 20 years. It's one of our most stable departments with incredibly long employee longevity, and I don't think that's by accident. Anyone that talks to him knows that he can see immediately his wide breadth of knowledge in anything planning and zoning. It's honestly a little overwhelming sometimes when he starts getting into the details. He's got an amazing ability to build collaboration and consensus through communication, especially on zoning issues that can be contentious, as some of us know. And he can explain complex zoning issues to just about anyone. He also just managed the move of planning and zoning from Brookins to Bennett. And so far, they are the leading department with the most paper to pack up and haul over to the new building. So we're going to be drafting an award for them to post. So we just wanted to say thank you to John for his 35 years of service to the county. If he ever decides to retire, which, doesn't have to be a thing that happens, he's definitely leaving the county in a better condition that he found it. And we're very grateful for his leadership and his expertise over these years. I also found, Suzanne found and printed out for me photos from our 2015 employee appreciation. So this is a younger John, a younger Susan. Susan, you can take this with you. A younger Janelle as well, and a younger Damon. So I think we have almost, or maybe even over 100 years of employee experience that we're honoring tonight, which is really amazing. And we just owe those employees a huge thank you.
Is there a motion? Oh, no, sorry. Julia, come on forward.
I never know how we're doing this as far as process goes. And so I'm going to take this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of both Susan and Janae, because Susan is a 20-year employee of Champaign County because I hired her, right? And so you all know, obviously, Susan McGrath's history as a public servant, starting out in her service as a very young woman, as a county board member years, I don't even want to say how many years ago, but she's up there in those photographs serving Champaign County as a board member many, many years ago. And when I became the state's attorney, Susan joined the office serving as an assistant state's attorney, handling the civil responsibilities and working with the county board for a number of years before she transitioned to running our child support enforcement division. And child support enforcement is a very important area where we represent individuals. Well, we represent the state essentially, but we assist custodial parents in obtaining financial support from non-custodial parents, and also assist the non-custodial parents in making sure that the amount of support they're paying is correct. And that's a very important part of the office, somewhat sometimes unknown. Jamala worked in that area as well for a number of years. And Susan was the main attorney running that division for quite some time before she ran for office and became the county clerk. And so I want to express my appreciation to Susan for serving both as an elected official, but from my purposes, very importantly, as a very important member of the Champaign County State's Attorney's Office for a number of years during her service here for the county as a whole. So thank you, Susan. And I also want to introduce to you all my friend Janae, who is here with a lot of her family. I see husband, I see mom, dad, I see son in the back, I see sister here. Janae has been with my office again for 20 years, which is hard to believe because she does not look old enough to have had a job for 20 years, but she started when she was 12. No, she was very young when she joined the state's attorney's office, and she has moved up over the past 20 years to being a senior, not because of her age, but senior administrative legal secretary in the office. Over the past 20 years, we have seen her son grow up to be a young man sitting in the back who I haven't seen for quite some time, but I remember him when he was like this. And she has moved throughout the office to being what I consider one of the most important support staff members, because she is the person who starts everything. So she sits in the front of the office, and all of the reports come into that area. And Janae works not just for the state's attorney's office, but she works with the circuit clerk's office, she works with the courts, she works with the jail, she works with police departments to make sure that everything that needs to be done every chaotic, hectic morning is ready to go for court. So that we can move forward with cases. She helps make sure that victim advocates have information they need to contact crime victims. She makes sure that defendants receive the paperwork that they're supposed to get so they know what is going on in their cases. She sends information to the public defender's office and to private attorneys, and she answers all of the questions. And she does it with grace and professionalism and calmness and always a smile on her face. I truly value Janae and the work that she does. I think anyone who has worked in the office would agree with me. She is a central and very important part of the office. And I'm so glad to honor her today and to have her family here so that they can see how valued she is and how much we appreciate the work she does. Thank you very much.
Seeing no other discussion, we had motion by Beth, second by Lorraine. Now is there discussion? Anybody? Okay. All in favor of this resolution, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. I just got to find where I am. All right. Moving on to public input. We'll begin with a known face to us. Laurie Brewer, please come forward. You know the drill. Red means go.
It was red, sorry. Thank you. Yes, I'm Lori Brower. I'm Champaign County Coroner. I'm back tonight to thank you for the opportunity to speak and to continue advocating for my staff. Our office is very understaffed and it's getting critical. We voice concerns. I have voiced concerns to some of you over the last 2 years. Since I've been in office, I've continued those discussions and added more people to the list that I'm talking to about the issues in the office. Unfortunately, nothing seems to be moving forward, and the situation just gets harder and harder. This week's a great example of that. If you watch the news, you'll know what I'm talking about. In December, I met with county administration, and we had several issues to discuss, including the need to fairly compensate the staff. At that time, we had all agreed that everyone needs paid for every hour they work. I let them know as of December 1st, I did that. They're paid for every hour that they work. What that means is, the unintended consequence is, we're operating with significantly less staff hours. If you want to add it up, it's about 60 hours a week that the county didn't have to pay for, that we staffed. I've asked for additional funding, and it wasn't even brought up for discussion. I knew it wouldn't get approved that day, but I thought at least we could discuss it, and that was turned down. So I'll keep asking, and I'll keep being here and advocating for my staff. We have one deputy on per shift at a time. One. Doesn't allow for time off. It doesn't allow for breaks during the day. They don't get a break, a lunch break. No one relieves them for lunch. I agree, or in December when we met, I did agree that we could use part of the special funding, the corner special fund, to fund additional staff. I wasn't opposed to that at all, but that discussion didn't go anywhere. And being new, I don't know how to make it go anywhere but to come to you guys. We do operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have a hard job. And having one person with no relief, where you can't even sometimes take a break before your next call, is hard. It's hard on the staff. Continuing down this path is not sustainable. I know that you guys have worked hard and you're doing your best, but I'd ask that you help us. I'm going to stay committed to this office. We're going to prioritize the families, but I'm also prioritizing my staff. We can't do what we need to do for the families when they aren't taken care of. and they need taken care of. So tonight, I'm asking you once again to consider, when I put in my request for additional staffing, that you take it seriously and we can at least sit down and talk about it. But thank you and have a great night.
Thank you. Next up, Alan Axelrod. When you come forward, just push the button. When you see red, you can go.
It's been a while. My name's Alan Axelrod. I am a former member of AFSCME Local 900. I was hired on April 20th of 2020 and fired a month later. You might remember the news reports about it. AFSCME filed an unfair labor practice against the then Treasurer Marisol Hughes. Although he's absent today, I do want to say, specifically to Eric Thorsland, that I greatly appreciated that he went to bat for AFSCME, was the only county board member on the record who went to bat for AFSCME, not just myself, and that his advocacy would matter a great deal again. For folks who don't know about that whole escapade, there were 3 people in the office for assisting the treasurer: myself, Ellen, and Robin. Robin, who you celebrated her many years of service not too long ago. They conveyed that although I was there for health insurance during the pandemic lockdown, that the situation there was so egregious, so dire, that they have, in their decades of service, never had working conditions that hostile, that during my probationary period, I risked retaliation to make sure that that was addressed. So when I'm telling you to stand up for AFSCME Local 900, it's not some person coming here trying to lecture you about how to do your job without any sense of how that is actually done. I'm talking about it as someone who declined over $2,000 in back pay so that I could be able to speak about it without a non-disparagement agreement threatening to muzzle me with civil suits. I worked today building our county's infrastructure with a heat index of 105 degrees. And that is way easier than having to deal with some of the stuff that happens in this county government. It can be really, really tough to listen through disagreement, to see the numbers, and to go, oh gosh, this is going to be really heartbreaking. There's nothing that we can do. I've been on the other side of union bargaining. I'm not just a member of the local carpenters union. I also was on the side for the graduate employees organization bargaining with our staff. After our budget was cut by half, and we were still able to fully retain our staff and to come up with a plan to build up their benefits. It really just takes the political will to find a solution, even when the numbers aren't currently in your favor. Again, speaking from experience that some believe they have. The last thing that I do want to say is I'm noticing that quite a few people are actually paying attention. That is appreciated. The most important thing, though, is to listen to the workers in AFSCME Local 900 when it comes to how they can better improve our county's services. That's what helps keep people here, both in terms of the workforce and as residents. And again, when it comes to that, like I have sheltered people multiple times to keep them here as members of our community. So I'm not asking for an imaginary silver bullet. Poor choice of words, maybe. And I'm aware that there may be some reprieve via the state legislature's veto-proof passage of the FAIR Act, which would provide some reprieve to the Public Defender's Office, both in the terms of funding and staff, starting in 2027. It just takes political will. Thanks.
Moving on, we have Ursula Eidelman.
Right, do I press start or do you guys press start? Okay. All right, so my name is Ursula Eidelman. I work at the University of Illinois, and I'm also the president of an Ask Me Local here in town. You know, I was just telling Ask Me alum that I like to try to tell myself that the university is the only employer with these types of problems. Like my local and my sister local, we just spent 14 months in negotiations. We ended up getting a historic contract with raises higher than any raises that we've gotten since 1993. And that was against a university who pays many people six-figure salaries to tell us no at the bargaining table. That's with a university who we know is struggling. We know the state's not giving the university all that much, but we kept going to the table and we held them accountable until they, were willing to acknowledge that we are, as support workers, that we are worth respect. We are worth a living wage. And, I guess I just assumed that the county board would treat its workers differently. Not really sure where that assumption came from, but, I assumed things were going to be better over here. And I was really astonished when I went to a rally on behalf of my union siblings earlier in the week to find out just how appalling these conditions are over here. And, somebody who has also lived in this community for most of her 4 decades on Earth, it's appalling that, the services that I and my community, my friends, my family, my union siblings, my work siblings, et cetera, like the things that we all rely on to, just function, it's running on fumes. I did not realize that, the wheel was spinning, but the hamster was dead. So, I guess I'm here to urge the Finance Committee, the Labor Committee, to come back to the table on Monday and bargain in good faith. Realize that the people who, are in Ask Me 900 are the duct tape that's keeping this thing together and keeping it running. I have had the dubious distinction of working for 2 people on this board over at the university, and I know that they both know what it's like to lose their support staff unexpectedly, and the chaos that can create. So, with the strike vote looming, well, the strike vote already passed, I think that they would know particularly well just how much a strike of Local 900 would hurt people. And, especially considering that we've got people on this board who, talk about how they're friends of labor, they are part of the labor movement, they're people who are in unions themselves or have been. It is just painful and confusing to, know that my fellow workers cannot, survive on the wages that they get. So, again, I hope I'm preaching to the choir. If that were true, though, they would have had a contract a long time ago. So I guess instead of reminiscing about labor history and instead of, taking money from Ask Me Council 31, give the money back to, Local 900, give them the money that they need to pay their own bills, to raise their own families, to live their own lives. And, make labor history now instead of just talking about labor history that's already happened. Thank you. I see the rest of my time.
I have no more slips from the public. If there's any other member of the public that would wish to speak at this time, please come forward. Going once, going twice, and we're moving on. Moving on to the consent agenda. I know from some discussion, we had some question if we might want to pull something off, Mr. Pugh. Nope, we're good. All right, we have the consent agenda. Will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, sorry, thank you. Thank you. I'm not normally the one doing this one. Moved by Farney, second by Sullard. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, now will the clerk please call the roll?
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Sexton. Sullard.
Yes.
Vantage Theronot. Wiggs.
Yes.
Cagle.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Crane.
Yes.
Yes.
Farney.
Yes.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Lockshin.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. Moving on, communications from the board. Mr. Esri?
This is short, believe me. This is from Mr. Wilson, but it has a good message, I believe. I agree with it. I think everybody will agree with it as well. Father's Day, June 15th. Recently, we celebrated Father's Day. America's fathers are the custodians of our strength, the leaders of our families, and the protectors of our security and safety. Whether by birth, adoption, or father figures, America's dads help shape the character and future of our nation. Through their example, they instill strength, integrity, and perseverance in their children. They rise early, work late, make sacrifices, and remain steadfast in their love and commitment to their families. Fathers lead through action, speak with purpose, and impart wisdom honed by experience. From their children's earliest days as infants through their journey into adulthood, fathers leave a lasting influence that reaches far beyond the walls of their homes. To every father in Champaign County, thank you. Thank you for your fierce love, heroic devotion, and inspiring example.
Ms. Carter?
I've received multiple emails from Miss Clarissa, Miss Rita, and Miss Anitra concerning the sheriff and the DCFS visits. All of their emails are, and they're very valid. The fact that kids that are in DCFS custody have already been traumatized, and we don't know why they've been traumatized. But if so happens that they've been traumatized by the police, that the police or the sheriff would be accompanying them on their visits. I am totally against it. Some of my constituents, as well as they mention in their emails that they are against it. If this does move forward, I would like to know the details. I would like to know would the police officer be present in the same room while the meeting is going on. I do know that this would be for I guess for hostile situations with custody, and that's to protect the DCFS worker. But I also would like for us to think about the kids as well. Something else that kind of struck me was that they told me that they could not email the full board. Okay. On May 30th, I sent an email to the full board. And my email came back and said that I was not on the senders list. So I'm thinking this is the exact same thing that happened to the constituents that emailed me, and they wanted to also email the full board. So on May 30th, I sent an email. I said, "Hi, all Champaign County board members should be ashamed. You're definitely the cause of the chaos, supporting unqualified, ineffective leaders and not the employees that serve this community. Many have mentioned and questioned Steve Summers, Michelle Jett, and Chair Locke's leadership. Well, now we all see the bullying tactics, pettiness, and lack of professionalism isn't winning. The Karen Committee and Executive Summers have destroyed this county. I can't recall in my 44
Point of
years.
order, Madam
I
Chair,
can't
this is a
recall in
violation
my.
of county
I
board
can't
rules with
recall in
personal
my
attacks on
44
county board
years
members.
of living in Champaign County seeing a strike. This is
Chair,
truly
I demand that
this
this
is
end.
truly
Ms. Carter,
embarrassing.
Ms. Carter, we're
As
not gonna call
board
names, though.
members, we should be doing more than just showing up for meetings. eating
7
snacks.
years ago,
and
our
getting
forefathers
Mr. Farney,
came
you don't
forth
have
on
the
this
floor.
continent.
Ms. Carter.
Oh, say,
Ms. Car-
can you see?
Mr. Farney, you don't have the floor either.
Madam Chair, there's been a point of
There's
order
a
that
point
has
of
not been
order.
addressed.
Ms. Carter,
Under their leadership.
Madam Chair, I'd ask you to call a recess.
And I'm done.
I would remind board members, all board members, that we had voted as a board 2 points of decorum, which prevent us from attacking other board members.
That was not an attack.
Yes, it was.
Can someone tell me
Moving
why
on.
we can't?
We are moving on. You've
Why
had-
we can't email the full board? Can somebody tell me? Is anybody here from IT?
I believe that's a question for MC. I also had the same problem this week. So
Why was that changed? That's making it harder for constituents to get in touch with the full board.
As a board member, I would encourage you to contact MC. who's
No,
in charge.
as the administration, you should let the board members know why you can't
I
email
call a
the full
recess
board.
for 5 minutes until Ms. Carter can be calm.
Second.
There has been a recess call. We will be reconvening the meeting in 3 minutes. We are reconvening this meeting at 7:13. We've had one board member communication. Moving on, Mr. Sexton. Oh, can you turn your mic on?
I move that we close board communications and move on to other business.
There's been a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second, Mr. Sullard? There's been a motion and a second. Per board rules, we are allowed to vote to end board communications. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. The motion carries. We are moving on. Moving on, approval of the minutes. That is in violation of board rules.
Can we call the sheriff? I'm serious. This is ridiculous.
I would ask board members to refrain from throwing things. That is violence and violation of board rules. Speaking out of turn without being recognized is unprofessional per board rules as well. Moving on. And we have lost quorum due to board member violations. We will resume when quorum returns. We will reconvene when there is quorum. All right, coming back from recess, will the clerk please call the roll?
Pugh. Rodriguez.
Here.
Rogers.
Present.
Sexton. Here. Sullard.
Here.
Vantage Theorenot.
Here.
Wiggs.
Here.
Cagle. Here. Carter.
Here.
Cowart.
Present.
Crane.
Here.
Esri.
Here.
Barney.
Here.
Furtado. Hanauer Friedman.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
Locke.
Here. All right. Moving on, can I have a motion for approval of the minutes from May 22nd, 2025, regular meeting, and June 10th, 2025, special meeting? Ms. Vantage Theorenot, Mr. Sullard, second. Any discussion? Mr. Esri?
Just pointing out that we have the updated, corrected version of the June on the yellow addendum. And I did have one very minor correction. Dang it, I should have had the page already turned to. Page 33 in our packet, third paragraph down, it says carbon sequestration trask instead of task. Very minor, slip of the keyboard, whatever.
Shows you reading it?
It's a extra letter in task. Like I say, it says trask instead of task.
We'll take that as a friendly amendment with seeing no objection. All right.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, moving on. Standing committees, facilities, areas of responsibility from the Committee of the Whole, they're all available on the agenda. New business, adoption of Resolution 2025-200, authorizing payment of claims. Can I have a motion? Mr. Sexton, Ms. Vantage Theorenot, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion passes. Adoption of Resolution number 2025-201, purchases not following purchasing policy. Is there a motion? Ms. Cowart, I see your hand as a motion. Second by Mr. Esri. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sullard.
I'd move to remove the two lines at the bottom listed as administrative services. There has not been a purchase yet, as those are invoices for expected or estimated amounts. Further, there's, I think, a good likelihood that they're going to meet an exemption and not need to be on this list in the future anyway. But in any event, they're not purchases at this time and are inappropriate to be on it at this time. So I'd move to have those removed.
I'll second that.
Second by Farney. Any further discussion of the proposed amendment? All in favor of the proposed amendment? Aye. All opposed? The amendment passes. Any discussion, further discussion of the purchases not following purchasing policy as amended? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Moving on, adoption of resolution number 2025-202, approving budget amendment BUA 2025-669, Fund 2680, Opioid Settlement Fund, Department 75, General County, increased appropriations $126,668, increased revenue $0. Reason, appropriation of settlement fund balance to allow for expenditure of funds to support programs and services for opioid impacted individuals. Mr. Sexton, motion by Mr. Sexton, second by Ms. Vantage Theorenot. And just to remind us all, this is just a budget amendment for what we've approved at the previous meeting. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Sexton. Yes. Sullard.
Yes.
Vantage Theorenot.
Yes.
Wiggs.
Yes.
Cagle. Yes. Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Crane.
Yes.
Esri.
Yes.
Varney.
Yes.
Furtado, Hanover Friedman,
Yes.
Lockshin,
Yes.
Locke.
Yes, the motion passes. Moving on, we have skipped D, moving on to E. Adoption of resolution number 2025-204, approving award of contract to Henson Robinson for the Pope Jail roof replacement pursuant to ITB 2025-6. Is there a motion? Ms. Vantage Theronot, you are a rock star tonight. Ms. Lockshin, any discussion? Mr. Crane.
I just had a quick question on, so one of the things that popped up in that memo that we got attached with this particular change was kind of a note about the low bid kind of being overturned because of scope kind of misunderstanding. Do you have any explanation as to like why they maybe missed that in particular? Or, and we don't have to, if you don't have a clear answer tonight, I was just curious.
Yeah, so it's a two-part project. So it's the roof, and then while the roof is off, there's concern that so this building is made of precast panels. So the panels came, panel shaped, and then they're attached with joists. And I think that's about as technical as I can get on it. But in checking to figure out the condition of the roof, we found that there's at least one precast panel that is not securely connected to the roof and to the floor the way it should be. So the second part of this project is, while the roof is off, checking all of the panels and connecting anything that should have been connected that isn't connected. The problem with that is that we don't know how many that is. So it made the bidding process a little variable, but this company didn't quite understand to the scope of what that meant, and their bid came in so significantly lower. So we asked about that, and they had not really understood what we were saying about checking for that and then reinforcing those panels while the roof was off. So by the time they went back and looked at what that they would need to add, they didn't want to continue with the bid. So
I apologize. I looked at the wrong name tag. Sorry about that, Mr. Cagle. All right, any further discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of adoption of resolution number 2025-204, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to F on our addendum here. Adoption of resolution number 2025-203, approving an agreement between the County of Champaign and Street College. Ms. Rogers, motion by Ms. Rogers, second by Mr. Farney. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you to Ms. Rogers and to Chair Locke for getting this turned around so really quickly through your committees and finding a way for us to use that money that was originally intended for these kind of services in a way that meets an immediate need for our community. So just props to both of you for the work you put in. I can't believe we got this fast.
I really want to thank Rosecrans for being so willing to recognize that this money could go to a better place and that they could continue providing services to our citizens in reentry through other grants that they already had. So this is working out great. I see a comment from our attorney.
I just wanted to add a thanks as well. Street College is a fantastic program. And I have seen many examples of young people who have benefited from the opportunities that that program has given them. And just recently had a great experience with a young person who has been just turned around in remarkable ways through the support and assistance and creative opportunities that that program is giving. So I am thrilled that we are using this money to support that program. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they were super impressive when they came to speak to us last month, and I just can't say enough. I'm excited about this. Any further comments? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Approval of recreation and entertainment license for Fisher Fair at the Fisher Fairgrounds, 226 East Sangamon Street, Fisher, Illinois, to be held July 8th through July 12th, 2025. This would have been handled at ELUC, but we didn't meet this month. I see a motion by Mr. Esri, a second by Mr. Cagle, whose name I got right this time. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. H, adoption of resolution number 2025-205, authorizing award of contract to Carpal Solutions for a case management system pursuant to RFP 2024-006. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Sellard, second by Ms. Hanauer-Friedman. Any discussion? I will note that our public defender and state's attorney are here if there are any questions. Okay, seeing no questions, no discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Moving on, other business, American Rescue Act plan. Come on forward, Kathy.
Good evening. I just want to mention a few updates regarding the broadband projects. With the VOLO and the Housing Authority project, they still are underway with that project and they expect to finish it this fall. And the other rural broadband expansion, they currently have a lot of the contracts awarded and everything, and they plan to start construction in July. And so there'll be further updates on that too coming up. But
Mr. Farney?
This isn't necessarily a question for Kathy, but maybe it is for the board. I'd like to hear from Volo at a board meeting because we're not all part of that group. And it just seems like this keeps going and nothing's happening. And I'd really like to hear from them.
I believe there have been difficulties in getting the easements, but Vice Chair of Broadband, Mr. Sellard, I think, has a point.
Yeah, just to mention that we are scheduling with the task force a meeting with them for the end of July. Not that that has to mean can't come here either, but we should have an update after that meeting as well.
Mr. Esri?
Just on the VOLO, the broadband at Farm Bureau Governmental Affairs this last Tuesday morning, Lucas, the assistant director of the Farm Bureau, he said that VOLO got 28%, I believe it was, of the contracts back for the easements. I'm sure they were hoping for more than that, but just, I guess, an update for the board to know that's not obviously all that long ago that they were at that. I assume that might have been of the date that they were wanting them back. Not that that was a set date. I was just kind of to try and persuade people to get it done quickly, but I'm sure they were hoping for a lot more, and I would have liked to have heard that have been a lot more too. I forget how many contracts. I've heard that number at one point in time, but it's a fair number of contracts for easement.
Aaron, did they say how many of the contracts that they got back were from residential landowners versus the non-residential landowners?
Lucas didn't mention that. He did say that, I think I remember hearing it, and maybe this was kind of an average, is they needed like 7 or 8 contiguous landowners, but Lucas made mention that it was like 5 miles worth of easement that they needed before they would start actually any construction project of actually putting fiber in the ground. So that 7 to 8 landowners might be roughly 5 miles. Of course, it would depend on where you're at and just what particular parcels you're dealing with.
Any further questions for Kathy? Ms. Carter?
You know what I'm going to ask, Ms. Larson? Any updates about the small business program?
We did send notice to Carly for her to submit evidence that the program is moving along by mid-July. Otherwise, there could be discussion at that point for other plans. And so she is aware of that. And she did say, she would get us the information, and we are waiting to hear more from her.
So we'll hopefully get an update in July as to what direction we need to go in. Okay. Thank you so much.
Any further questions? Michelle?
Add to that, we did clearly state that we wanted to see a grant done by July 15th, and that we have already heard from the chamber that they have capacity to do more with more funds. So that would be an option as well. So I would imagine at the July board meeting, we probably will be meeting to make a decision.
Yeah, we're eager to hear about those. I know that Dr. Storr, even though he's no longer here in this room with us, will be pounding down your door if we don't hear about those soon. So thank you. Any further questions for Kathy? All right. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And we will see you next month in our new building. The grant coordinator update is there, information only. Next, we have approval of closed session minutes. I will remind us that if we want to discuss them, we have to go into closed session. Is there a motion? Mr. Esri, second, Mr. Sexton. All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor of approval of the closed session minutes from April 24th, 2025? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. I call this meeting adjourned at 7:36. Yep.
Shut my head in a door. Funny.